Hi, this is John, Flat 6 Motorsports, and today we're going to show you how to change the air filter on a 991.2 Carrera, and this is also applicable for the Carrera S and GTS. It's the same process. Now we pull this factory paper filter out. Of course, we're going to upgrade it. We're going to do so with this high-flow BMC air filter. Now BMC has been in the game for a very long time. They make air filters actually for Porsche for the 991 GT3 RS and also the 918 Spider. So if you have one of those cars from the factory, you're getting a BMC high-flow air filter from Porsche. Now this isn't going to add a substantial amount of power, but it will improve a little bit on the throttle response and also bring a little more induction noise in. So we think it's a worthwhile upgrade. But with that aside, let's get in the install process. I'm going to show you step by step of how to change the air filter.
Replacing your air filter is an in-depth process. You'll need adequate room to work, and you'll need to securely lift the rear of your car in the air. Because we'll be disconnecting electrical connections, it is best to disconnect the battery. Begin by removing both rear wheels to access the fender liner. Next, you need to remove the torque screws holding the fender liner in place. You do not need to remove the entire liner. You will now have access to the screws mounting the bumper to the car. Remove these two screws. Repeat this process for the other side. Next, you'll need to remove the 7 torque screws along the bottom side of the bumper. Coming back to the top, you will now remove the fans and intake ducts from the car. A firm pull on the cover and fans will remove them from being seated. Make sure to disconnect the fans before fully removing them. Remove the oil and coolant cap to take the plastic shrouding off around it. Be careful when removing the coolant cap, as there still might be pressure in the system. Replace the caps after removing the shrouding. Next, remove the 2 torque screws holding the taillights in place. You can now safely disconnect and remove the taillights. After removing both taillights, remove the 4 torque screws on top of the bumper. Remove the torque screws found on both sides of the bumper where the taillight sits. You'll need to disconnect the plugs that are located where the taillight sits. There are 2 plugs to disconnect on the passenger side and 1 on the driver. With some help, you can now safely remove the rear bumper. With the rear bumper removed, you are now going to take off the spoiler. There are 2 torque screws on either side of the spoiler holding it in place. Next, you'll need to disconnect the wiring harness connected to the spoiler and unplug it. With everything safely disconnected, you can remove the spoiler. Next, you'll need to remove the intake ducts. These pop right off. You will then disconnect the vacuum lines that are housed on the airbox. Next, you will loosen the clamps connecting the hose to the Y-pipe. Do this for both sides. On top of the Y-pipe, disconnect the MAF sensor and the breather line. You can now remove the Y-pipe. Next, you will disconnect the hoses to the airbox by loosening the clamps. Disconnect the PCV hose on the right side of the airbox. Remove the 7 Torx screws around the top of the airbox to remove the cover and install your new filter. After your air filter is installed, you can put everything back on the way it came off.
So that was a step-by-step process of how to change the air filter to 991.2 Carrera. We have the BMC filters available at flat6.com, along with a host of other upgrades for your 991.2 Carrera, including suspension, exhaust, intercoolers, upgraded turbos. Whatever you need, we have you covered. Feel free to check us out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.